going on, guys? I'm Joe,
I'm Kevin.
and this is the 2024 NASCAR Year in Review. Every season, 36 races make up the NASCAR Cup Series schedule with the 10 race playoffs. We'll get into the playoffs later. But let's talk about that regular season. The first 26 races was just incredible to watch.
Yes, that's from head to toe. Definitely. There was a hit or miss, but it wasn't that much of a miss. It was more of a hits, as far as I would
They
say.
were full of hits, Kevin. I mean, talk about some of the racing and the battles that we had on those intermediate tracks, the return of a crown jewel race.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get started. What was your favorite moment?
So as far as I'm gonna talk about my favorite moment was when Harrison Burton did that walk-off win at Daytona. The Wood Brothers 100th win took them forever, but hey, we're here.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get it with Matt DiBenedetto for a few years, but it just didn't come to plan. And Harrison Burton pulls it out at the very last restart, leading just the final lap to win that race. But my favorite moment has to be that battle in the Spring Darlington race. Three cars: Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, and eventual winner Brad Keselowski. Brad's winless streak coming to an end at Darlington. That was impressive to watch. And how about that Crown Jewel race coming back?
Yeah, the Brickyard 400. Like, honestly, I liked it. Like, I mean, I missed the RC version of it, to be honest with you, but it's like, I can deal with it. It's fine.
Yeah, and the next gen cars really did perform on the 2.5-mile flat turn oval, and it was very fitting to see Kyle Larson win that race. He put on a clinic that day and deservingly went to victory lane.
Yes, definitely. I know it's different cars, but he did have a lot of testing there going on.
Yes, in that Indy 500 run. Incredible to watch. What is going on, guys? Let's talk about that regular season. Kevin, your favorite moment?
Harrison Burton, man, walk-off win at Daytona, was nowhere near in place to win the race. But again, you have to do it at the right place at the right time. Again, granted that he's not going to be back next season at Wood Brothers. He did say he wanted to get that win, so he did get that win. And the fact that he had to get help from Parker Retzloff. He had no choice to help him out there, and he was able to beat Kyle Busch at the end there, two-time champion who's dying to get into the playoffs this past season. And the fact that Harrison Burton was able to do it, like, it tells you, like, okay, it's anybody can win that race as long as you're in position, which is a good thing because it gives the little guy a chance to try to win the race. And he is the first driver that won in the 21st century to win NASCAR Cup Series race. Being like the guys like Noah Gragson, Ty Gibbs, his buddy Todd Kitteland as well.
Yep.
So the fact that Harrison Burton was the first guy and he doesn't have a ride for next season is sad, but it's a big up for him, man.
It's a huge up for Harrison Burton. He's going off to the Xfinity Series next year for AM Racing, a team that has been needing some consistency. They haven't really found it since Brett Moffitt did 2 years ago.
And I don't think, and then I think Harrison would be fine in that team. It's just, again, he has to find consistency. So hopefully he can do it from there.
And I do think that with the win he had at the Coke Zero Sugar 400 Daytona, the way that race turned out, played out towards the end with the big one, turn one, and we had 9 laps to go in that race when McDowell went to the sky. Josh Berry crashing to bring out overtime, hitting that safer barrier head on his lid. It really set up for an amazing finish.
Basically, yes, definitely. So now, Joe, I'm going to ask you your favorite moment.
My favorite moment of the 2024 regular season was, without a doubt, that Spring Darlington race where we had the 3-car fight for the win between Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, and eventual winner Brad Keselowski, who finally snapped a 3-year winless streak in the NASCAR Cup Series, one that for many fans we thought we wouldn't see again. It took a while for Brad to get the job done, but he got it done at Darlington at a track that he has mastered in the past, winning the Southern 500 back in 2018. And Brad got himself locked into the playoffs with that race win.
Yeah, and actually it started the trend with Ford starting to win more races because I was questioning Ford during that time. Like, are they going to win a race this season or what's going on? Because it was already like one part of the season already done. They haven't won a race.
They were fast in practice. They were fast in qualifying, but when it came to race time, they seemed to really struggle. For example, that Talladega run, we thought Brad was going to get around Michael McDowell, and the two collided, and let Tyler Reddick run away with the win.
I think it was more Michael McDowell that he couldn't hold the line. Again, he's not used to being up there, so it makes sense in every shape and form. I was kind of pulling for Noah Gragson there.
And that's where I think Noah Gragson next year at Front Row Motorsports might be a good ordeal, but we don't know exactly all the details with Front Row Motorsports in 2025.
I heard the 4 is going to return, though. He's going to take over the 4 car, which is a good thing.
And Loves Travel will be their sponsor. So that's going to make for something interesting. But as far as that Darlington race is concerned, going back to it, unfortunately, I was driving to Chicago when that happened, and I didn't get to see the finish live, but I watched it on the DVR, and I was treated to an amazing race.
Yes, granted. Darlington always does well.
I'm here with
Steve. Thank you, Joe, for bringing me on.
Absolutely. So I asked Kevin about the moment he loved about this regular season. Steve, what was your favorite part of it?
My favorite part was the finish at Atlanta. 3-wide finish. It took a few minutes to figure out who was actually the winner, but came out to be Daniel Suarez, which was kind of crazy. But that's Super Speedway racing for you, Landmore Speedway.
Super Speedway racing on a 1.5-mile track. Who would have thunk it a few years ago?
Yeah, a lot of people mentioned about they missed seeing the old Atlanta track, which I agree, but this is what it now is. Super Speedway racing at Landmore Speedway. The racing is a little bit different. The track's more narrow, so it makes it a different kind of type of a Super Speedway, but it's still racing.
Yeah, and the tire fall off was actually interesting during the later runs in the third stage, especially when they were having to come down pit road before that last caution came out that triggered the finish of this race. But
definitely,
we had a crazy Daytona 500. I was there; it was a treat to watch. And then round 2 happens at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Just trumped it.
Yeah, definitely did. Other than seeing, your favorite drivers not able to make it towards the end because the type of racing it is, with it being Super Speedway racing, which kind of sucks, but what can you honestly do?
You know what? I think the drivers and teams made their best, most out of everything in that regular season at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was fun to watch.
I agree.
Back with Kevin, and let's get into the playoffs.
Yes, definitely. I would say this playoffs has actually been very interesting because you had 3 of the non-playoff drivers winning a race in the playoffs.
Yep, in this 10-race journey, which we saw in the 3 rounds and the championship race, 16 drivers, 4 in the championship, 4 and 1 came out on top. But it was an incredible journey to see the races that took place. Start off with Talladega Super Speedway.
Yes, definitely. Ricky Stenhouse, like out of all people, winning that race, being clean, not being involved in that 28 driver, literally 28 drivers got involved in that wreck.
Biggest crash in modern NASCAR history.
Mm-hmm. Taking out several playoff drivers on top of that, and Kyle Larson finally finishes a Super Speedway race without getting in a wreck.
And he got a top 5 finish.
Yes, definitely. And actually, that was around the 12th. His round of 12 curse finally ended.
Yep. And that all led into the round of 8. Martinsville Speedway was incredible. But let's talk about the race that happened a week before. Homestead Miami Speedway. We were there and got that all in for the first edit. Homestead was an absolute treat. I think it was race of the year.
Yeah, me personally, I always say Homestead is banger after banger every single year, which just needs to be back to championship race, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely. It has to be the championship deciding race like it was at one point in history. With this next-gen car, they seem like they perform best at these 1.5-mile tracks, especially Homestead Miami Speedway. The old Atlanta from 1997 prior, just incredible racing all day long. That pit call by Kyle Larson ultimately didn't get him the win, but then Tyler Reddick rises to the occasion on that last restart, getting a hold of both Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney.
I knew personally that Tyler Reddick was going to be in contention to win that race because on that second and final stint, he held out basically a 10-second gap lead because he had older tires. He only had a pit because of fuel, but if it wasn't for fuel strategy, he would have won that race regardless. So the fact that Tyler Reddick was able to walk off win at Homestead is no surprising. He has done in the past before too at the Xfinity side. So
Yep. And it says a lot about his driving abilities. And 2311 Racing really do have a shining star on their hands. Now let's get into Martinsville Speedway. Last year, we saw Ryan Blaney having to win in the final race in the round of eight to get into the championship board. He does that, wins the title. Same situation here in 2024. Ryan Blaney is just amazing at executing.
yes, definitely. I'm happy he won. Like, but it took the fun out of it because you had the race manipulation from the manufacturer itself. Chevy and Toyota got involved in the race manipulation, and I get it why the Blue Ovals, aka the Fords, were not happy about that. But we did see Christopher Bell got involved in. He hit the wall, quote unquote, which I think he didn't, which led him to be eliminated from the playoffs. And Byron got in, but again, we had penalties and fines from two of the Chevy drivers that were literally blocking for him. I said he was blocking for them, but you can't tell me otherwise. And Bubba Wallace also got with that penalty as well. I mean, they could have won that appeal, but I think they didn't want to get into the nit and grits with the whole penalty. So I think they just let it. They just let it slide, let it go, take the penalty, raise focus for next season. And at the end of the day, Team Penske, man, Team Penske just figures out Phoenix in every shape and form. If you're going to have a Penske driver winning the championship, they're gonna win the championship because they have Phoenix literally
they have
figured
it in
out.
Bag. I mean, their setup is incredible, second to none at this track. And not to mention, they were class of the field. Pretty much any other team, they were hard to catch them. Tyler Reddick was just down and out, and William Byron was nowhere to be found in the championship race. It only came down to the best of the two Penske drivers that won the respective championships in 22 and in 23.
And they finished 1-2.
1-2 finish. I mean, what more can you ask for? This is why we have Rusty Wallace's car standing on the table.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you all for watching. Shout out to Dr. Kevin Petrich for allowing me to do this amazing project. And we will see you next time.